Hello, I'm Andy Murray for WhatCulture.com.
And I'm Adam Nicholas from WhatCulture.com.
And we are back once again with the ill behaviour Be Bada Bada Bo. Is that the right song?
I don't know.
I don't think that's the right song.
You started it and I'll let you go with it.
Yeah, anyway, this is the news. I think that's what he says. He's not here today, but we're going to run through a bunch of top stories.
Should we do the point?
Anyway,
you know,
do the point. This
is the news.
The news is this.
Yep,
okay.
There you go.
Story number one.
Come on.
AEW, you're not going to believe this. AEW are signing wrestlers.
What?
Yeah, I know.
What?
Huge shock. And what's an even bigger surprise is that the 3 wrestlers they have signed were on their banner for the Double or Nothing rally in the first place. I am, of course, talking about Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky, SoCal Uncensored, formerly of Ring of Honor.
The boys, of course, who've featured in quite a few episodes of Being the Elite recently. Obviously, they kind of got a real connection with those guys. Andy, you probably know more about them them 3 than I do. What do you think in terms of like what they'll actually bring to AEW?
Trio of veteran wrestlers. Christopher Daniels is, I think, 48. They're very good still. They were in prominent roles in Ring of Honor up until the departure in December. Daniels is a former Ring of Honor champion. They've had the trios belt. They've had the tag titles several times between them. They are still very capable of going, but I can't imagine they'll be pushed in any kind of top star capacity. Given their
just getting bodies onto the roster and having some people, 4 people to wrestle against.
Kind of like veteran gatekeepers, putting new younger talent over, but they're still very effective. And this news was, of course, confirmed by Ryan Satin of Pro Wrestling Sheet, very reliable reporter. And it's believed that all 3 of them will be at the Double or Nothing rally in Jacksonville, Florida tonight, where they will be officially unveiled by Cody and the boys.
Very exciting. Almost like putting them on the banner was worthwhile.
It was. And of course they join the Young Bucks, Cody, Hangman Page and Britt Baker as the confirmed signees so far, with Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix apparently, according to the dark web, set to
According to the dark web. Just make sure that's in there. That's it. Speaking of potential people who could be joining other companies, Cain Velasquez recently was at WWE. Yeah,
that's a big one.
It's a big woof, wasn't it? Cain Velasquez was at WWE recently, last year at the Performance Center. He seems to have enjoyed himself so much during that visit that he said he would love to join the WWE in some bigger capacity very soon and do more with them in the future. That was on Ariel Helwani's MMA Show podcast. Andy Murray, what do you make of this? Because Cain Velasquez, in fairness, having been a big UFC fan yourself, would be quite a tasty little addition.
Well, personally, Cain Velasquez is one of the guys who kind of got me into UFC in the first place.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think when you're getting into it, like
that
the
was
heavyweights,
genuine excitement there as well.
I'm pretty fired up about this. I think he's fighting Francis Ngannou next month. Obviously, that'll be his first fight in about 2.5 years. He's had a lot of injury problems over the past few years, but lest we forget, this is a man who TKO'd Brock Lesnar at UFC 121.
I'm not even going to try to guess it, but he definitely did TKO Brock Lesnar. Velasquez is legit, and there was a lot of excitement and buzz when he first was in the Performance Center because people were like, "Oh, this is exciting."
What's he doing here?
A lot of Cain jokes going around, as you can imagine, because there's a few notable Cains in WWE. But if he does sign with WWE, it might be a massive boom for them. And to be honest, that would make Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey and not make him the 3rd to join from the UFC.
3rd UFC champion under their books. It's really quite exciting. Like all these MMA crossovers who've come into wrestling, in WWE at least, have done very well.
All of them have succeeded, I would say. Baszler, Ronda Rousey,
Matt Riddle now
Matt
as well.
Riddle there. You've obviously got the 2...
the legend, Sonya Deville.
Of course. How could we forget? Put your hair up and square up. So it could be another edition on the way from the MMA world. We'll have to wait and see on that one, though.
Yeah, and I believe he told Helwani he'd been a fan for a long time and that visit did turn his head. Him and Daniel Cormier, big wrestling fans.
It must do, though. The Performance Centre is so impressive, so I can understand that entirely.
It's quite the facility, and it's easy to see why they would be blown away. And speaking of former MMA stars, Ronda Rousey, she's got her opponent. Her Royal Rumble opponent has been confirmed. If you watch Raw, you'll know it's Sasha Banks.
And not Nia Jax.
Hey! Well, it was very nearly Nia Jax.
It was very nearly Nia Jax.
A #1 contenders match that I was sure Sasha Banks was going to lose because that's what WWE do. They don't exist to make us happy.
But we're the bosses now.
Remember?
Are. Yeah. So we're getting what we want, potentially.
Exactly. Like, we control the McMahons. It's genius. Anyway, this whole thing was set up. There was the Moment of Bliss talk show thing that Alexa Bliss is now doing. Ronda Rousey was the guest. She said that she wanted to face Sasha Banks in the future because she admires her. This led to big jealous Nia Jax coming out and talking some nonsense. Sasha Banks comes out, they set up a match. Of course, it was actually really well done. It was a solid segment. The match was not so well done.
Yes. Botch? Much? Is that probably a fair word?
Couple of botches.
Nobody got injured though.
Nobody got injured.
Nobody got a broken face.
No broken faces.
Okay,
there
that's
was
a
a
good
big
start.
right hand, but no broken faces. I am amazed that Sasha Banks didn't get injured here. There was a spot where she just, it's hard to describe, but Nia essentially like came off the top and dropped Sasha's face like right on the thing, and then
Not pretty.
Sasha tries to do a Hurricane Rana off the apron, and Nia kind of just forgets to sell, so Sasha kind of falls off her. But the positive news, she went over really strongly. They had Bayley on the outside fighting off Tamina, and in the end, Sasha Banks made Nia Jax tap out.
In fairness, like, as much as everybody gives Nia Jax grief, you could probably say that like her being that heel is kind of working. Like she's getting over because of how much people like the people she's against almost, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like it's you can say what you want about her injuring someone and getting pushed regardless, fair comments, but I think if you have heat, and this is the first time she's had legitimate
Like
heat,
actual
probably ever,
heat,
right? You're smart to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I think so.
This is a performer who has struggled to get over. But the good news is that Sasha versus Ronda, that should be fantastic, shouldn't it?
that is, I mean, that's got to be the big takeaway. Never mind the botches, never mind all the negatives. It's a new year, we're going to take the positives from this, Andy Murray.
Yes, we are.
Sasha Banks and Ronda Rousey at the Royal Rumble, that is surely going to be an absolutely class match.
You'd think so.
That's a clash in the styles maybe that you haven't potentially seen with Ronda yet. Sasha's quite fast-paced, so you can kind of think that those two would go well together. But ultimately, another big test for Ronda Rousey.
I'm fired up, brother.
Indeed. And last but not least, we wanted to kill the rumours on Kenny Omega and the potential offer that he got from WWE. Big thing here was that they were offering a lot of money on the table, they were saying, but the one thing that was perhaps going to be a key ingredient of that contract was giving him creative control of his character, something that Omega himself has actually mentioned he was worried about in the past. But we can pretty much confirm via your big man Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Radio podcast, Shaka Dave, that's not the case. WWE don't tend to break that policy for anyone, and according to Meltzer, they weren't about to do the same for Omega. But interestingly though, Murray, if you have to think like that would be the one thing that would get him there, surely they might have at least considered it.
You'd think so, because obviously a guy as creative as Kenny Omega, let's not beat around the bush, the guy's a wrestling genius. Say what you will about his character work, in the ring he does things that no one else does in terms of layout and structures of matches and stuff. You'd think that he would maybe be reticent to go to WWE because they will demand control. So you got to dangle a big carrot to get that man, particularly when he has the chance to go and work for his best mates for presumably comparable money, according to the reports. Now, I wonder if this creative control thing was maybe just a bunch of bandwagoning.
Yes, I think so.
Like we say, you put 2 and 2 together in this situation, you do get 4. It makes perfect sense. Not 5, Radiohead. But it just kind of seems like the speculative bandwagon got out of control, so Shagger Dave pulled out the pistol.
Of course.
Went like, that's not how you hold a pistol, but he's
that's a big pistol, to be fair.
I mean, it's Shagger Dave, mate. Of course he's got a big pistol.
Well,
terrible.
Phil in the back, just totally broken there. The thing is, though, if I think it's probably come from the fact that everyone knows that's what Omega would have wanted. And Vince McMahon and his company have a terrible habit of taking something really great and throwing it down the toilet.
Yeah, just kind
very
of
swiftly. Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's tough to know what to make of Omega and WWE. We won't go into too much detail. I'm sure a lot of words would be spoken of this, particularly if he's signed. But you know, maybe things work out okay and we have an AJ Styles level of
potentially. I mean,
if he goes there.
The one thing that's probably worth noting is that on the latest episode of Being the Elite, Kenny Omega, there was a whole skit where he lost his phone. The phone was found and the phone seemingly had a timer on, very similar to the guys who have signed and moved on for AEW as it was announced previously on Being the Elite. So suggestion seems to me that it's going to take something very, very big for him not to go and join AEW if he hasn't already pretty much agreed.
I completely agree. And speaking of people who have lost their phone, I am not one of them. And I have
the
here
Segway King,
Andy
Murray. Look at that.
Boy, what
an
absolute boy. Twitter questions earlier today. We put out the call for questions on today's video, and I picked a few out of them. Don't worry, the ones we don't get to answer today, I will get back to you on Twitter.
I like when you do that, by the way. Like specifically so you go through each. Sorry, carry on.
I'm just trying to be a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a good egg, you.
Question number 1, and we will rattle through these relatively quickly. Dylan Edward asks, being that AEW's rally is later today, do you have any predictions for what will be announced?
Well, I think obviously the first one's going to be the SoCal guys will be presented at least in some format. The two things here are probably the announcement surely of Double or Nothing, when and where, etc. The kind of the the framework for that, but also, as we've just spoken about, potentially Kenny Omega. If now that he said he's not going to be in New Japan, and they've had that whole thing, despite your best efforts to say that it might be a work, and it could yet be, it strikes me that could be something that would be on the menu.
That would be one hell of a thing. A TV deal as well, potentially, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be a big step. So, question number 2 is from DJ Junior. What would be the ideal step for Brock Lesnar going forward into 2019? I would say lose the belt and bugger off.
And go away forever.
Yeah.
We were almost there. We almost had it.
Yeah, we almost hit the double togies.
In fairness, he's come back and filled the slot during the time when obviously Roman Reigns disappearing. I think for me, Lesnar goes. I think he has to. I feel like for him, in his career now, he probably wants to get some more MMA fights under his belt. Legit ones that aren't marred by controversy, like the failed drugs test.
Yeah, the Mark Hunt.
So
Faff.
for me, that's where he needs to go, and for the fans, I hope so. That's where he goes, to be honest.
Yeah, big fight with Daniel Cormier, perhaps.
Yes.
Big money spinner for
I'd be
Dana
up for
White.
that.
Who's more likely to have success on the main roster, EC3 or Velveteen Dream? We could spend hours talking about this
We
one. by the way.
could. We could also say that they might end up both being nothing because of Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
If I've got to pick one, I mean, for me, it's Velveteen Dream's got everything.
Yeah.
I think, though, EC3's very much Vince's kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's big, he doesn't have a ton of moves.
Ticks all
He's
those
got a lot of
boxes.
charisma when he wants to on the microphone. I would personally go for Velveteen Dream. I hope that would be the case.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe EC3 because Vince loves him.
Yeah, I think EC3 does tick a lot of those boxes,
Yeah.
but he's kind of rubbish wrestler, so maybe
Indeed.
he'll fall apart. Anyway, finally, last question. We'll keep this one
Last but
super
not least.
quick. What is their tag team and what is their finishing move called? I presume, Mikey, that you mean us.
Is this
well,
the there? We must be the there in this scenario, surely.
I hope so. I hope
Let's
so.
be arrogant and say it is us. Yeah.
Okay, let's
Come
go
on.
for it.
Yeah, it's
Well,
us.
I'm bald, and Adam Nicholas is beautiful.
Oh,
so
it's very kind of you, mate.
Bald,
It's true, but
bald is beautiful.
bald is beautiful.
BIB, and I have no. This is our finishing move.
This is our finishing move.
Gently massage the opponent's big heads until they kind of melt into like a pile of like.
I was going to go
Stuff.
for go to sleep. I mean, they could just fall asleep. But the melting thing works too.
Yeah.
You can clean that up.
We'll
That's
call
not.
it go to sleep. I don't think there's already a move.
No, I
called
don't
that.
think there is. I think we're good on that one.
Yeah, Chick Magnet Phil, Kenta, all those
Chick
guys.
Magnet Phil.
Hey!
There you
Anyway,
have it.
guys, that is all from us today. Thank you very much for joining us. I have been Andy Murray.
I've been Adam Nicholas. Thank you very much for your time and all your questions on Twitter as well.
And we will see you tomorrow, maybe
Potentially.
Thursday. I don't know.
Maybe Adam Wilborn will be back by tomorrow. Hope he gets well soon.
Yeah, he's got the cold. He's a soy.
Goodbye, everyone. He's a soy.